We're now moving on to Shelley Campbell from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and she's got a case study on the innovative open source and digital tools and standards, primarily for FormBuilder.govt. So we'd like to welcome down Shelley, please. She's also got some interesting fun facts. Yeah, you do. She once participated in a competitive paper plane flying contest. Sadly, you came second, but, you know, we still remember those days. So there you go. No worries.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Shelley Campbell tōku ingoa. I feel like we've just had a bit of a sprint with Alex, so I'm just going to take the tempo down a little bit and have a casual stroll. And the reason for that is a little bit because sitting in the audience today, a lot of what maybe I was going to say has already been said. So my first slide here is about the increasing digitisation challenge, and I feel like people have laid out really well, particularly Alex, Peter, and others, why this kind of feels harder at the moment. So, what we do as a team, my team, is that I'm the product manager for FormBuilder, which is a government product, a cross-agency initiative. And we meet with service teams across local and central government every week. So we talk to them about trying to make things easier for their end customers, but also for them themselves or their teams. And when they look at their paper forms and they try to think about how they might digitise, typically these are kind of lower volume services potentially. You can see that they feel really lost about how to proceed. They can kind of see where they would like to get to, but how to get between where they are now and that sort of end vision, they're really a little bit lost. And on those kind of lower volume services, those don't really tend to be prioritised for much investment. They're not really on the kind of roadmap for their IT department. All they can see is that they're dealing with a really, really manual process, and it's really inefficient, and it's also challenging for their customers. So we chat to them and they talk to us about the fact that, they're doing their BAU jobs, and they also then have to pivot to try to make this happen, and they have to navigate through things like procurement, which we've just discussed. They have to understand security, privacy. They need to understand about accessibility, customer, user experience, customer testing. And these are people who, they're like the liquor licensing officer at a district council, or, someone working within, trying to run the fog cannon subsidy scheme. So what we kind of found is where we came from with our work is this screen here is kind of showing you a little bit of a vision. This is just a design for something that we would like to work towards. The screen shows a sort of dummy login screen with a slogan around being the preferred way for government to build forms. So where we came to was we started a long time ago working to bring business-facing services together into one place. So we know businesses would like more coordinated and consistent services. And so our team was behind the creation of a platform called Business Connect. Great idea, cool, makes sense. We're happily trying to bring lots of different government services into one place. But what we found was it was really expensive delivering these individual services onto this platform. So we created for ourselves a drag-and-drop form builder based on open source code because we wanted to make it cheaper, easier and quicker to deliver these services. But then in talking to all these service teams that are having these struggles and are not sure how to proceed, we realised that we might have an opportunity to solve a problem for more than just ourselves. We might be able to create something for New Zealand government to use. So that brings me now to talk a little bit about what we've actually done, where we've got to and what we're doing next. So we've created this drag and drop tool. So the idea is that non-technical users can create a form. It's got conditional logic. It uses common form patterns and components that are ready to go to make it as easy as possible. We want people to be able to deliver a simple government service in just a matter of hours rather than weeks or months. We want to take this down from having to become a giant project to, I just want to instead of having to put a PDF on my website, I would just want to be able to make it a proper digital channel. So this is where we came to. We've created a form builder tool. It generates accessible forms that are largely compliant with the New Zealand government web standards. Working alongside the team, you're going to hear from Callum very shortly, to think about how we can keep improving the accessibility of the actual builder itself, because we really understand that it needs to be a really inclusive tool if we want everyone in government to be able to use it one day. a really important thing here is that this is centrally funded. So anyone in government, whether that's a council or an agency who has a form that they want to build, they could use this, and then we could host that form for them, and then we could send them their data and we could maintain it ongoing, and there wouldn't be a cost. And so what we're doing is trying to deliver those simple to medium complexity services in a way that is far more efficient and reduces loads of duplication of effort. At the moment, I should be clear, we are limited to business-facing services, which is a real frustration for people in government and for me, because every week I'm talking to teams and they're like, oh, we really want to use your tool to deliver this service. The end users are citizens, and we have to say, oh, we're not actually funded for that. We're only funded for business-facing services. So it's something that we think there's a real opportunity to extend that out, and we would love to be able to do that. So it's really down to kind of funding, and you know, it's above my pay grade, let's put it that way. But when we look at what people are doing in other countries, the countries that the other speakers have mentioned, particularly where we're meeting with Singapore, the UK and Canada, we can see that you know, they've created a similar tool. They don't have those same restrictions, and the uptake has just been really like mind-blowing. You know, particularly Singapore, I think they've got about 50,000 forms published, and they've had like 6 million submissions through their platform. UK have just gone into a public beta, I think, with their tool, so I'm really interested to see how their adoption goes. But yeah, we think that this is a really great way to potentially scale digital forms for the New Zealand government. So this is my how it works diagram. It's essentially got 4 columns to it. The first one on the far side of the screen is, you know, it relates to that FormBuilder tool. So the FormBuilder tool can create the tools. Sometimes we build them. Sometimes we sit in a room and we will work together in real time, just dragging and dropping a form and creating a bit of a prototype. And other times people out in government log into the tool and build them themselves. That form can, if we move over to the publish column, can be hosted at the moment just on the Business Connect platform. Now, the Business Connect platform sits behind a RealMe login. It's the base platform, has system security certification, it has its own privacy impact assessment, it has all its own accessibility testing, and in fact, we've just done a recent piece of work with Access Advisors, a consultancy. So they've gone through the platform, they've taken some users from the disabled community through the platform, so it's given us a lot more stuff to work on. But the reason we do all that is to save people in government having to do it again on their own platform somewhere else. And so at the moment, as I say, the forms only go on that platform, but we're really acutely aware that you know, we need to make that potentially more flexible. So we're working towards providing a method whereby the form pops up for unauthenticated users. And we're, you know, looking at whether there might be some way for us to create embeddable snippets so that you can pop the form where you want it to be. Moving on in the diagram, your end user will come and fill in the form and then submit it to you. And at the moment, we've got these 4 ways that you can receive the data. So in that column, starting from the top, the very basic, send it to email. So you can have this form submissions come to a shared inbox, and we do have some teams doing that across government. So they'll receive a PDF attached to an email that's got the content that was filled in by the end user. We've also got bulk downloads, so that those two kind of can go hand in hand. If you're receiving each submission by email, at the end of the week or the month, you might want to jump in and just download them all into one place. You can also use our case management system. So we do offer that end-to-end workflow, so you can be notified that someone submitted an application form. You can log into the case management portal, and then you can take a look at it, you can request further information and do all the kind of stuff you'd expect around case management. And then lastly, we have a suite of APIs that you can obviously integrate into your back-end system, and we've got so far 2 clients that have done that. The Intellectual Property Office and New Zealand Trade and Enterprise have both made use of those APIs. But that is the one bit that's not funded by us. So we can't cover the funding for you to do that integration. That has to be covered by you. So this is a table that I pop up, which really just reinforces things that previous speakers have said around everyone off doing their own versions of this and having to go through it. It's a table. I'll just kind of run through the things on the left here that sort of shows what we can cover and the time that we might be able to save. So to use what we've developed, there's no procurement process. So the way in which we have structured it, no one in central or local government has to undertake a procurement process to use it. Again, just reminding you that is for business-facing services, so that will probably be one of the things we'll need to tackle if and when we're able to extend out the kind of end users to government or citizens. Probably there'll be quite a lot of work involved there and going back through procurement. But at the moment, that's where we are. So if you do have business-facing forms that you'd like to digitise, there's no procurement required. We use the UK government design system. So again, open source design system, something that's had loads of investment into it. We were recommended by DIA to use this in lieu of a New Zealand government design system. So that's what we use. Really accessible, so we're nearly there on 2.1 AA and obviously looking now at 2.2, but it's just a constant, something that we're constantly looking at investing in and improving. And so, that part you can feel confident is being looked after and prioritised. I've already mentioned the end-to-end case processing. We've done things like the integration with New Zealand Business Number and the NZ Post APIs, again saving you from having to do those. And then that base platform has been tested, so we take care of the penetration testing and the certificates, and also privacy impact assessment. So when it comes to putting a service onto our platform, drag and dropping it and then hosting on the platform, you have to go away and look at your own security due diligence and your own privacy impact assessment for that service, but you've got some documents to sit underneath that. So we know anecdotally, I know that DIA, who have been looking at it around the security side, they found out all of our documentation saved them a lot of time and money. And then lastly, of course, we have Realme sitting in front of it, so that part's done too. In sum, we're trying to do the common bits, right, which is exactly what Peter was talking about this morning. This slide, it just says quick and efficient, saves time and money, secure and accessible, better customer experience. So the main things to really call out are around efficiency and consistency, I'd say. If you're delivering services using our product, you've got faster and cheaper delivery. You can be confident around that security and privacy and accessibility part. You've got that potential end-to-end workflow. Another thing that I haven't mentioned is that we've obviously baked quite a lot of analytics into the platform. So we're able to give you some more insights into your service's performance, and they're typically things that teams have no idea about. A lot of the teams we talk to couldn't probably tell you what the volumes even are, because it's just PDFs coming into an inbox and no one's kind of tracking necessarily and reporting on that kind of stuff. So we're able to look at obviously form field type analytics, but at a slightly higher level we can do NPS, and we get lots of verbatim feedback through the platform. We recently had some forms go live for ACC, and we got a real spike in feedback from those, and around 160 users provided written feedback that was then reviewed and subsequently fed into 3 iterations, just improving the form. So that's kind of the benefit of just get it up there, get people using it, and then we can keep making it better. For the end users, we save them time and effort through things like data pre-population. So we obviously call the New Zealand Business Number, for example, or the NZ Post API. But also when we have people coming back to, say, the platform to log in and renew something. So we know a lot of permits, registrations need to be renewed even annually. People are able to completely reuse their data from last time, just check it and then resubmit it. So I know, talking to a customer, a business owner in a country pub recently, she said that the first time she went through, she did find it a little bit tricky, but when she came back to renew her food business registration, it took her 5 minutes, so she was delighted. We give people the ability to save their applications, track progress, and it's meant to be a consistent and simple pattern that we've provided on that platform. So that's the benefit of the Business Connect platform. This next slide contains some logos for agencies and councils. So we have the likes of the Ministry of Justice, the Trading Standards team, Customs, ACC on there. These are the various teams that have used Business Connect to deliver a service. So we've got a pretty solid offering with quite a lot of benefits for for those customers. In the most recent financial year, we delivered 27 services for a range of bigger or smaller agencies or councils. And really the main thing that all of these quite random selection of teams and agencies and councils have is a champion. So that's someone that was sitting in there who we talked to and who just immediately understood what the benefit of using this would be, how much time and money it could potentially save, and really got it. But typically this, when they sort of take back this idea of using a shared service, it gets quite a lot of resistance when they kind of go back to the business and talk about it, back to the leadership. So having that champion in there is pretty crucial for being able to kind of push it all the way through. We're keen to find more people like this. So if you're one of those people, which I suspect many of you are, we're keen to chat. This slide here is a little bit of a where we've got to and where we're going. So it's got 6 hexagons on it, and each one has a point inside. So the first one is around how many services we've delivered. So we launched at the end of 2019. We've delivered 45 services across 35 different teams in government, and that's central and local government. We've got more than 100,000 businesses who've registered for the platform, and I think we've had about 150,000 submissions through the platform. What we're focusing on now, as I've mentioned, is new ways to host forms. So up until now, they've all been hosted on that Business Connect platform, and that doesn't always make sense. So the next thing that we're working on is unauthenticated users being able to jump onto a form, because in a lot of cases for very simple services or things like surveys or notifications or updating your details, it doesn't always make sense to have to go through like a log on RealMe and then register for a platform and then get to your form and it's like 5 fields. That's a bit of a weird experience. So we'd really love to be able to provide that for different kinds of services. And then the other thing we'd like to do is move towards the self-service model where you can create, publish and maintain your forms independently of our team, and that's really following in the footsteps of the likes of Canada, the UK, and Peter mentioned FormSG's product there. So that's where we would love to go with it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Shelley.
Not at all. Happy to.
This is probably a good one that we were just kind of talking about. Do you see RealMe as a barrier to agencies using FormBuilder?
We are sometimes questioned about it. Generally speaking, I think people have just accepted that it's there, it's mandated, we have to use it. But certainly our development of this new way of kind of hosting forms is a little bit of a way to kind of maybe get round that where it's not strictly necessary or it's a little bit overkill. So, yeah.
And where is FormBuilder hosted?
So FormBuilder is hosted on AWS in Sydney.
Okay.
Yep.
And thank you.
Can I just mention, can I just give a plug? On the 21st of August, we've got a webinar. We do monthly webinars. If this is of any interest and you want more detail, you can go to businessconnect.gov.nz and then register for our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's always interesting finding out about these services that not everybody is aware of, even when we work in government.